goddamn job better than anybody else in the goddamn Navy.
Yeah.
The Last Detail wasn't just another military movie. It was a cinematic rebellion that nearly destroyed careers, rewrote censorship rules, and created one of the most controversial films of the 1970s. Behind those seemingly simple scenes of two Navy lifers escorting a young prisoner lay absolute chaos, a director fighting studios, actors improvising profanity that shocked America, and a production that pushed every boundary Hollywood had left. The Navy banned it. Theaters refused to show it. Critics called it obscene. Yet it became legendary. Here are 20 weird facts about The Last Detail that prove making this film was just as wild as the journey it portrays. And stick around for the bonus fact: it involves a scene that was filmed but remains lost to this day. Let's dive in. Fact number 1. The Navy refused all cooperation. The United States Navy completely rejected any involvement with this production. They read the script, counted the profanities, and immediately withdrew support. No ships, no bases, no uniforms, no technical advisors. The military wanted nothing to do with a film portraying sailors as flawed, vulgar human beings rather than recruitment poster heroes. Columbia Pictures had to source authentic uniforms through costume shops and military surplus stores. Every naval detail came from veterans willing to consult secretly. This wasn't Hollywood's usual military cooperation. It was filmmakers operating in complete defiance of institutional authority, creating an authentic sailor story without official blessing. Fact number 2. Jack Nicholson improvised most of his profanity. Director Hal Ashby gave Nicholson unprecedented freedom to expand his character's vocabulary. The script contained profanity, but Nicholson transformed Badusky into a walking thesaurus of creative cursing. He studied how actual sailors spoke, interviewing Navy veterans about their language patterns. Many of his most memorable lines came from spontaneous outbursts during takes. Ashby encouraged this rebellion, believing authentic military speech required unfiltered expression. The result shocked 1973 audiences, a mainstream studio film featuring language previously reserved for underground cinema. Nicholson didn't just play a sailor. He became the embodiment of military frustration, channeling years of institutional anger into every syllable. Fact number 3. The film nearly received an X rating. Columbia Pictures faced a nightmare scenario when the MPAA threatened an X rating commercial death for a studio film. The ratings board counted profanities and balked at the sheer volume of explicit language. An X rating meant limited theater distribution, no advertising in major newspapers, and association with adult content. Ashby refused to cut a single word. The studio appealed repeatedly, arguing the language reflected authentic military culture, not gratuitous exploitation. After months of negotiation, the MPAA reluctantly granted an R rating, but the battle transformed industry standards. The Last Detail proved mainstream cinema could handle adult language if justified by artistic integrity. It opened doors for filmmakers like Scorsese and Altman. Fact number 4. Randy Quaid was cast from hundreds of unknowns. Randy Quaid's selection as Meadows represented one of Hollywood's most exhaustive casting searches. Ashby auditioned over 700 actors for the role, seeking someone who could embody vulnerability without descending into caricature. Quaid was a complete unknown, a college student with minimal acting experience. His audition tape revealed something remarkable: genuine innocence mixed with desperate sadness. Ashby recognized that Quaid wasn't performing the character. He was channeling something authentic from his own emotional reservoir. The director worked extensively with Quaid before filming, building trust and encouraging naturalistic performance. Quaid's portrayal remains heartbreaking precisely because it never begs for sympathy. He simply exists as Meadows, trapped in circumstances beyond his comprehension or control. Fact number 5. Otis Young was chosen over major stars. The role of Mulhall was offered to several established actors who turned it down. Studios wanted a bigger name opposite Nicholson, suggesting actors with higher commercial profiles. Ashby insisted on Otis Young, a relatively unknown actor with limited film experience but undeniable presence. Young brought military authenticity. He'd served in the Marine Corps and understood the institutional mindset. His chemistry with Nicholson developed naturally during rehearsals, creating the film's emotional foundation. Young played Mulhall as the conscience struggling against duty, the man who follows rules while questioning their morality. His understated performance provided necessary counterbalance to Nicholson's explosive energy. Without Young's grounding influence, the film would have collapsed into chaos. Fact number 6. The Boston and New York locations were all real. Ashby rejected studio backlots entirely, filming exclusively on location in harsh winter conditions. Every bar, street, and building appears exactly as it existed in 1972. The production encountered genuine Boston cold temperatures dropping below freezing during exterior shoots. Actors wore actual Navy peacoats for warmth, not costume department replicas. The bar scenes capture real establishments with regular patrons visible in backgrounds. This documentary-style approach created remarkable authenticity. When Budusky and Mulhall walk through snow-covered streets, audiences see actual urban decay, real poverty, genuine America. The locations weren't sets dressed to suggest reality, they were reality itself, unvarnished and unromanticized. Ashby's commitment to environmental truth grounds every scene in tactile authenticity. Fact number 7. The chanting. Scene was completely unscripted. That haunting "We Are Just Babes in the Woods" scene emerged entirely from improvisation. Ashby set up the camera in a real bar and told his actors to simply exist as their characters. Nicholson started chanting spontaneously, pulling Young and Quaid into the rhythm. The other bar patrons were actual customers, not extras, reacting genuinely to this strange performance. The scene captures something indefinable: masculine vulnerability, institutional bonding, desperate camaraderie. It wasn't in Daryl Ponnickson's original screenplay. The author later admitted this unscripted moment captured his character's essence better than anything he'd written. It demonstrates Ashby's genius, creating space for actors to discover emotional truth beyond dialogue. Fact number 8. Nicholson's fight scene sent someone to the hospital. During the brutal bar fight sequence, Nicholson's commitment to physical authenticity caused real injuries. He insisted on performing his own stunts without elaborate choreography, wanting genuine violence rather than Hollywood fakery. One stuntman required medical treatment after Nicholson connected with an unintentionally hard blow. The actor felt terrible, but Ashby kept the footage it captured exactly the chaotic brutality he wanted. The fight looks real because it essentially was real, performed by actors genuinely throwing punches in a confined space. Modern productions would never allow such dangerous filming conditions. But 1973 filmmaking embraced risk for authenticity. The sequence remains viscerally uncomfortable precisely because audiences sense genuine danger in every frame. Fact number 9. Columbia wanted to fire Hal Ashby mid-production. Studio executives grew increasingly alarmed as dailies revealed Ashby's uncompromising vision. They didn't understand his pacing, his improvisational approach, or his refusal to deliver conventional military drama. Columbia's production heads discussed replacing Ashby with a more controllable director. Only Nicholson's intervention saved the project. He threatened to walk if Ashby was removed, leveraging his rising star power after 5 easy pieces. The studio backed down, but maintained hostile oversight throughout filming. Ashby worked knowing every creative choice faced corporate scrutiny. This adversarial relationship ironically strengthened his resolve. He became more defiant, pushing boundaries harder. The film's rebellious spirit reflects its director's battle against institutional control. Fact number 10. The character relationships were based on real sailors. Before we continue, go ahead and like and subscribe because these next facts reveal secrets even the cast didn't know while filming. Daryl Ponnickson based his novel on actual military experiences and relationships he observed during naval service. The dynamic between Budusky and Mulhall reflects authentic partnerships formed within military hierarchies. Ponnickson interviewed dozens of veterans about prisoner escorts. Discovering these assignments created strange intimacy guards, developing sympathy for prisoners they'd eventually deliver to punishment. The author recognized this moral complexity as inherently dramatic. Real sailors confirmed the detail about guards showing prisoners kindness before incarceration, a final gesture of humanity before institutional cruelty. Every seemingly fictional element had roots in documented military practice. The film's emotional power comes from this foundation in lived experience. Fact number 11. The ending was filmed with multiple versions. Ashby shot several different conclusions, uncertain which would best serve the story's themes. One version showed Meadows fighting back. Another had Budusky and Mulhall refusing to complete their duty. Test audiences saw various cuts with different emotional resolutions. Ashby ultimately chose the most devastating option, Meadows submitting to his fate, while Budusky and Mulhall watch helplessly. This ending denies catharsis, refuses redemption, and leaves audiences confronting uncomfortable institutional reality. The studio hated it, demanding something more hopeful. Ashby refused. He understood that authentic tragedy requires accepting defeat, not manufacturing false uplift. The final version's bleakness remains shocking, a mainstream Hollywood film acknowledging that sometimes decency fails and systems crush individuals. Fact number 12. The film's release was delayed 9 months. Columbia sat on the completed film for 3/4 of a year. Terrified of its content, they'd invested money in a project they now considered unmarketable. The profanity scared advertisers. The bleakness repelled commercial prospects. Studio executives discussed shelving it permanently. Only strong festival reception forced their hand. Critics at early screenings recognized something special. American cinema's emerging new Hollywood aesthetic reaching maturity. Positive reviews from influential writers pressured Columbia into limited release. The delay allowed buzz to build organically. By the time it reached theaters, The Last Detail had developed cult anticipation. That 9-month gap transformed potential commercial failure into artistic statement. Audiences arrived knowing they'd see something challenging, preparing themselves for cinema that refused to comfort. Fact number 13. Nicholson's performance influenced his Oscar-winning role. The character work Nicholson developed for Bodusky directly informed his portrayal of Randall McMurphy in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest 2 years later. Both roles explore rebellious individuals trapped within oppressive institutions, channeling frustration through humor and defiance. Director Milos Forman studied The Last Detail while preparing Cuckoo's Nest, recognizing Nicholson's ability to balance comedy and tragedy. The actor's physicality, that distinctive swagger, the explosive verbal energy was refined here before becoming iconic. Bodusky represented Nicholson finding his signature screen persona, the lovable rebel whose charm masks deeper anger. Without this performance, McMurphy might have been played differently. The Last Detail became a laboratory where Nicholson experimented with techniques that would define his greatest work. Fact number 14. The brothel scene was cut from most prints. Many theatrical prints deleted or severely trimmed the scene where Bodusky arranges adult entertainment for Meadows. Individual theater owners exercised local censorship, removing content they deemed inappropriate. This created bizarre situations where audiences in different cities saw substantially different films. Some prints removed the entire sequence. Others kept it but eliminated specific dialogue. The inconsistency frustrated Ashby, who'd carefully structured the film's emotional arc. That scene serves crucial narrative purpose, showing Bodusky's desperate attempt to give Meadows life experience before imprisonment. Without it, his character motivations become unclear. Modern restorations returned the footage, but for decades, most viewers saw incomplete versions. The Last Detail's theatrical history exemplifies 1970s exhibition chaos before standardized distribution. Fact number 15. Carol Kane's character was inspired by real people. The young woman Bodusky meets represents countless individuals Ponnexson encountered during his travels, lost souls drifting through urban landscapes, seeking connection without commitment. Kane improvised much of her dialogue, creating a character simultaneously vulnerable and worldly. Her scenes with Nicholson weren't heavily scripted. Ashby encouraged actors to respond authentically to each moment. Kane's performance captures the era's transient culture, people passing through each other's lives briefly before disappearing. She appears only briefly but leaves emotional imprint, demonstrating how even minor encounters carry weight. The casting choice was inspired. Kane's intensity matched Nicholson's, creating palpable chemistry. Their scenes feel stolen from documentary footage, random moments of human connection preserved accidentally by observant camera. Fact number 16. The train sequences were filmed guerrilla style. Ashby secured minimal official permission for railway filming, relying instead on quick setups and cooperative conductors. The production moved fast, grabbing footage before authorities could shut them down. Some train interiors showed genuine passengers unaware they're being filmed. This guerrilla approach created documentary realism impossible to achieve with controlled studio work. Actors performed surrounded by actual travelers, reacting to real environments rather than sets. The claustrophobia, the movement, the authentic train sounds all contribute to immersive experience. Modern productions require extensive permissions and safety protocols. Ashby's 1970s freedom allowed spontaneous filmmaking that captured America's transportation infrastructure unfiltered. Those train sequences preserve a vanishing world passenger rail culture before decline, urban centers before gentrification. Fact number 17. Quaid method acted to dangerous extremes. Randy Quaid remained in character between takes, isolating himself from crew and fellow actors. He slept in his costume. He ate alone. He internalized Meadows' fear and confusion, living inside that emotional state for weeks. The psychological toll became concerning. Quaid developed genuine depression and anxiety. Ashby monitored him carefully, worried the young actor was losing himself in the role. Nicholson and Young tried to pull him out during breaks, but Quaid resisted, committed to complete immersion. This extreme method approach gave his performance devastating authenticity, but damaged Quaid's mental health. He later admitted those weeks were among the darkest of his life. The performance earned critical acclaim, but at significant personal cost, demonstrating method acting's potential dangers. Fact number 18. The screenplay won major awards. Despite being unproduced for years, Robert Towne's adaptation of Ponickson's novel won widespread recognition while the film languished in distribution limbo. The screenplay circulated through Hollywood, admired by writers and directors who recognized its brilliance. Towne captured the novel's essence while adding cinematic dimension, creating dialogue that felt naturalistic yet precisely crafted. His work balanced humor and tragedy, vulgarity and poetry. The script demonstrated how adaptation could honor source material while becoming its own artistic achievement. Towne's success with The Last Detail led directly to his hiring for Chinatown, establishing him as Hollywood's premier screenwriter. The irony, his adapted screenplay gained fame before audiences saw the actual film. By release, industry insiders already considered it a masterpiece based solely on written word. Fact number 19. Ashby's editing style revolutionized American cinema. The director's editing background fundamentally shaped this film's rhythm and pacing. Ashby had worked as editor before directing, giving him intuitive understanding of how footage creates meaning. He assembled The Last Detail with jazz-like spontaneity. Scenes breathe, moments linger, conventional narrative structure bends toward emotional truth. His cuts emphasize character over plot, privileging human behavior over mechanical story advancement. This editing philosophy influenced countless filmmakers, demonstrating that American cinema could embrace European art film sensibilities while remaining accessible. The film's pacing deliberately refuses Hollywood convention, no rush toward climax, just gradual accumulation of experience. Ashby trusted audiences to engage with cinema as meditation rather than thrill ride, forever changing editing expectations. Fact number 20. The film predicted military disillusionment before Vietnam ended. Released while American forces remained active overseas, The Last Detail captured military skepticism that wouldn't become mainstream for years. The film's critique of institutional indifference and systemic injustice resonated differently with audiences experiencing war fatigue. Badusky and Mulhall's Crisis of Conscience reflected growing national questioning of military authority. What seemed controversial in 1973 became prophetic by decade's end. The film didn't explicitly address current conflicts, but its themes of institutional failure spoke directly to emerging cultural consciousness. Veterans recognized their own disillusionment reflected on screen. The Last Detail became unexpected commentary on military culture during America's most traumatic foreign involvement, proving cinema could address contemporary issues through indirect narrative. Bonus fact: there's a deleted scene that only 5 people have ever seen. A complete sequence showing Meadows' family exists in Columbia's vault, never included in any release version. The scene provided backstory explaining his circumstances, showing why he committed his crime. Ashby filmed it, edited it, then removed it entirely from Final Cut. He realized the mystery surrounding Meadows served the story better than explanation. Audiences needed to see him as symbol of institutional cruelty, not specific case study. Only Ashby, the editor, and a few executives ever saw this footage. No stills survive publicly. No one has been allowed to view it since initial screenings. The scene represents one of cinema's lost treasures, material that could fundamentally change audience understanding of a classic film, locked away permanently. The Last Detail remains a film born from rebellion, actors defying conventional performance, a director fighting studio control, and a story refusing to deliver comfortable resolution. What emerged was American cinema at its most honest, unflinching, and human. If you enjoyed these behind-the-scenes secrets, smash that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into cinema history. Drop a comment telling us your favorite Jack Nicholson performance. Remember, sometimes the greatest journeys are the ones that take us nowhere at all.